You just want me to submit tickets, no exceptions. Okay. Hey y'all, been a minute since we had something happen in the pharmacy, but had something come full circle after a few weeks. Just had to get time to type it all up. So back in October, we noticed our drive-through drawer was slowing down, and the last time this happened it basically meant it needed to be cleaned, lubed up again since we use it a lot. What we usually have to do to get any traction and action is submit a ticket online so it can be logged and hopefully worked on. Now I say hopefully because, well, the system is dogshit. You can submit tickets for anything for software issues, slowness with internet, physical issues that have to be fixed, etc. But getting some action for 80% of anything you submit requires some luck, and hopefully getting someone who wants to help you out on the other end. To counter this and make things go smoother, we typically get in touch with management, and they'd check in on the tickets as well so it would hopefully get taken care of sooner and not get higher on the severity list, which then may lead to an emergency and extra billing. We did have a great assistant manager that I could talk with and work together on this, and we had great rapport. But he left early November because the newish store manager of a year basically drove out a lot of the old staff with severe micromanaging and cock-blocking them on promotions, and she was a stickler on costs on the store. We asked to get 2 keyboards replaced, and that was a headache as is. So since he was gone and it's just the store manager, I tried to talk to her about it and give her a heads up and was met with, just submit the tickets and resubmit it if nothing happens. So just to make sure all was good, I copied the ticket numbers, sent an email and copied my pharmacy manager on it. I made sure to resubmit the tickets and also ask, so you don't want me to tell you verbally or on email from here on about any ticket issues, pharmacy problems or delays, correct? She replied back yes, and so I didn't. So back to the drive-through. We had someone come out and check on the drawer. They said it would have to get looked at for replacement, so I made a ticket, put in all the info in that was needed and submitted it. Didn't say anything, just let the people do their job they were supposed to do. Resubmitted every 48 hours as the systems allows you to bump it if nothing has been looked at, and did that for about 10 days with no action on replacement. Well, day 12 comes around and I opened that morning, and as I was taking care of someone, the shelf doesn't move. Had to have them come inside to get finished up, and we had to shut down the lane. So by this point, since it's down and we really need some movement on this, we submit a ticket for an emergency to get this on the record and addressed. When a claim is done as emergency, we're basically guaranteed to get someone in there in about 2-4 hours. However, it comes with all the charges that would make a frugal manager flip out about, with fees, premium time costs for service, etc. And then ordering the parts was done automatically, instead of needing the manager approval because the need was there. So you best believe when the manager got the heads up that an emergency claim was put in, she nearly ran over to the pharmacy to ask why we didn't tell her something was happening, and I gently reminded her that she said herself in an email to not bother her with issues and submit tickets accordingly. And since it had been almost 2 weeks and we now cannot operate efficiently, we now had to take this route. I think when we do emergency options, our district manager also gets an email, but I'm not sure. I didn't hear anything from him though. The fallout was a huge bill for the store, since the system we had to get replaced was from a company that initially put the system in when the store opened in the early 2000s. So they had to custom make this drive-through replacement cause it wasn't the current model they produce, have multiple visits to prep for the install, and as a cherry on top, the store got to hear a lot of complaints about drive-through being shut down for so long, and if the scores don't look good there, bonuses get lowered too. I saw an invoice of some of the work and the guy who was working on things was chill, but I think he quoted the drive-through production around $25K cause they had to put a rush on it, and that's not adding in the service fees and more. So a fix that could have casually be started at the first ticket and followed up on and finished sooner and for less cost ended up costing maybe 3-4x the amount just due to the fees. Needless to say, The store manager has now conveniently asked me a few times here and there if there's any tickets in the system that need to be looked at. She's not my boss anyway, but that email chain is definitely saved in case it needs to be sent to our district manager if she thinks she can blame me for something in the future. Anyway, moral of the story is take care of your shit early and listen to the workers and you'll save money. Daycare wants my office to park in our reserved spaces while they use ours too. We did. Been waiting for this one. My partner and I own a small 8-person company that shares a building with only a daycare. Our company consists almost exclusively of higher-level professionals, a couple lawyers, CPAs, etc. So most have their own large office plus a couple of common areas, conference rooms, a nice kitchen. All in all, it's about 3,500 SQFT, which is obviously a lot for 8 people, but necessary for our line of work. Due to the size of the office, the lease has a parking provision which grants us exclusive rights to all 24 parking spots. This is somewhat important. To the story, not our work, we only need 8+ clients. Also, important is the daycare's parking lot only consisting of about 10 spots in front of the building. The parents would use our lot to drop off as the daycare's lot would be mostly full with their staff's cars, and even some of their staff would park in our lot. I didn't mind at all. We had over a dozen empty spots each day, and it was nice to have the mostly happy children around in the mornings afternoon. Until a month ago, I started coming in a bit later at the same time as daycare drop-off. Our lot was crazy with parents' kids walking and parking, so I used their lot like they have done with ours for years. First day, no issue. Second day, the manager saw me get out and gave me a piercing stare. A week later or so, I did it again, and my car was towed. Not a warning or word from the manager, anyone at the daycare to me or our office. I went to the daycare to ask if they knew it was my car. It is a very distinctive old blue truck, and if some kind of mistake had been made. The manager came out and said it was not a mistake, and in a very rude, demeaning tone, her exact words were along the lines of, "Unfortunately, we can't have the liability of non-staff and parents within our lot, and I'm sure the parents don't appreciate having to walk further either, or an unknown adult like you in the lot." She looks me up and down, and I'm a totally normal-looking 30-year-old male, I think at least. "Don't you have some reserve spots in the back? You should really park there and let us park here." With an eye roll, she walked off. I was happy. I held my tongue in front of the children considering how King angry I was, knowing it was not the time for that conversation. A couple days later, I told the manager, while we were outside the office, that I wished she would have come to me before towing my car and costing me $600, asked for an apology, and said since we share the backlot and the parents take up almost all of our spots in the morning and afternoon, can I park in the front lot the occasional morning the timelines align? She flatly said no, and basically gave me the same speech she gave last time, at least not commenting on my appearance this time. I left things for a week, thinking it was over, until again I had nowhere to park one morning, having to wait 10 minutes for parents to filter out of our lot lest my car be towed, and who do I see but the manager getting a spot in my lot before me even. I decided to comply with the manager's wishes then and developed a plan. I contacted the building owner and said, or more accurately lied, that due to compliance reasons with a state license we're applying for, we need to have a gate installed with employee guest pass access only on our parking lot. Our company would of course cover the cost. Same day approval from landlord. Installed 2 weeks later. I drove in early that first day after install. I tell you, the mayhem was well worth it. Watching from the corner window gave me a perfect view of it all. It started with daycare staff pressing all sorts of keys on the gate to try and get in, trying to park where they have for months, years even. Then their lot filled up completely. Parents started arriving. A staff member had to stand at the gate telling parents there was now no access. Their parking lot was basically congested with parents double parked taking their children in. Other parents parked a quarter-mile down in another lot at the park our office overlooks. I eventually went down to give the manager a nice little wave and walked back up to my office. She gave me a piercing stare that just made me grin ear to ear. I guess she sent the owner a rather angry email about parking rights to the backlot afterwards and how it's crazy one small office gets the entire thing. Apparently, she did not know we had all of it. He said him and I may have to discuss the parking provision in the future, and he also did not know the lease gave the entire back lot, but it's not a big deal to him. Not sure why he let me put the gate in regardless. I still have 2 years left on my lease with another option to extend an additional 5. So no plans on moving anytime soon from the office or my 24 parking spots. P.S. It's an office building next to a park and residential homes. I am in no way endangering these children since they now walk through a quarter-mile of grass and playground to get to daycare. There's not even a street to cross from that lot. If anything, I made the days of the employees and parents better in retrospect. Actually, not sure employees can park in the playground lot for that long. Edit, finally figured out how to edit. Newer around these parts. To everyone asking me why I did not tow, 2 reasons. 1, most importantly, I was tired and working 12-plus hour days for a few months at that point. That day she parked there was the last or second to last day of that stretch, and then I'm basically 4-6 hours a day for 9 months. Towing a car was the last thing on my mind. Getting into the office and finishing my work was my only goal. Then my partner suggested it when I recounted the story. 2, $600 can be a lot of money for some. I grew up fairly poor and know how devastating a towed car can mean to a family struggling month to month. Another day, I may have done it. I'm glad I didn't. You want these ads done 3 months in advance? No problem, boss. Long-time lurker, but I finally have something to share that's happened within the last few months. I work as a senior graphic designer for a company for 5 years now. Originally, it was only a team of 3, a marketing manager, a marketing executive, and myself. The former 2 have since quit, and you'll find out later why. A huge part of my job is to handle a huge advertising schedule in a project management system, PMS, for which I design print digital ads for. Enter my difficult micromanaging manager. He's the VP of sales and marketing who's been with the company for 30-plus years. His way of quality control is to force all our marketing materials to go through an approval process in our PMS in which everyone else has to give their feedback, and only then will my manager give the final sign-off once it reaches him. On top of that, he insists on being copied on every notification for every single step of the way. So every single ad I produced had to be sent through our PMS while tagging the product managers and proofreaders. Those individuals would then comment feedback for changes needed, or if the ad is approved, they'd mark it complete and then send it along to the next person. It would end with this micromanaging manager, who'd have the final say on whether it's good to be sent out or not. Sometimes the process would be flawless, as everyone would approve it the first time with no changes needed. But when it got to my manager, he'd reject it and I'd have to do it over pending his remarks. The thing with our PMS is that you can see timestamps of when people viewed updates. He's on our project board, so he gets all the updates, and he could have easily interceded earlier and let me know if changes were needed to pass his check so I'd not waste my time. But because of the way he is, he only wants to see the final drafts after everyone else sees them. Everyone else always seems to move things along in a timely fashion, but when it finally gets to my manager, he just let it sit, and then you'd have to constantly check to see if he marked it off. When I pushed back and stated how arduous this all is, his tone-deaf reply was to have it done 3 months in advance. He also insisted that the ads I produced have to look different each time for each publication's insertion order. So after 4 years of handling all this by myself, I was barely meeting deadlines, and the quality of my work started slipping as I was making really stupid mistakes. Every few months I would ask my manager if we're going to hire an additional designer for our department since we're doing more marketing, And every year I'd hear, "It's not in our budget right now." Things came to a head during one of my biannual reviews, where I told my manager bluntly in front of HR that we desperately needed to hire an additional designer, as there was no way for me to hit the 3 months ahead goal that he keeps parroting. He actually asked me, and I quote, "Is it typical for companies to have more than one graphic designer?" I'm dead serious. I showed how I handled everything by myself as best as I could at that point, and I was getting burnt out. For those that may ask why I stay, they compensate me very well without having to commute into a major metropolitan city. A golden handcuff situation, if you will. By the end of the meeting, my manager finally caved and gave me permission to hire an additional designer who started with us this past January. While showing him the ropes on our design systems, he told me the manager said something snarky to him along the lines of, "I never imagined having to hire 2 designers. You guys should have no problem being 3 months ahead on ads now. Are you kidding me?" Over the years, I watched my manager as he hired a plethora of account executives and replacements for our department, most of whom quit within months under his watch. But he's going to give me crap for needing one designer after I made things work for 4 years by myself. I was so infuriated by his comments that I decided. He wants ads done 3 months in advance. Okay, bet. I trained the new designer on our approach to the advertising schedule in the PMS and the ins and outs of the approval process, and we went to work. We both proceeded to bury my manager in notifications as we churned out ad after ad after ad, pushing items through the pipeline with my manager receiving notifications on every single update. When the tasks ended at him and we got no response, we set up automations to ping him every hour calling for his approval. We also would send detailed weekly reports stating our progress, and also made it inherently clear to mention our goal was to be 3 months ahead of deadlines. By this past May, in time for one of my biannual reviews, my manager made an announcement. He announced my coworker, the marketing assistant, would be promoted to the vacant marketing manager position. Furthermore, they would now be handling the advertising schedule and be the final point person going forward. My manager also asked to have all notifications for him be removed, as he didn't have the bandwidth anymore to monitor it and is taking a step back from overseeing us. We collectively broke my manager after only 5 months of doing exactly what he asked, and I've got to say things have improved greatly so far. Our new marketing manager is very laid back, as we're still getting things done ahead of schedule, and he is really good at what he does. We've also since hired 2 more additional employees for our department, and we've been steadily growing. My newly promoted coworker recently joked with me and the junior designer about how he wanted to go over the advertising schedule for next year with our manager, but he elected to not see anything and fully trusted my coworker to handle it completely on his own. Funny how that works. Coworkers and management got what they asked for because it's in the agreement. I'm actually excited to be able to contribute here for once. This is currently taking place in a casino in a province in Canada I work at, and it is a bit multifaceted, so I will apologize for the long read, and there is a TLDR at the end. To start, we're technically government employees. Don't ask me why, but we're also union. Yeah, I am a literal bartender in a restaurant where everyone is a unionized government employee. You can see where this is probably going or what kind of environment this has engendered. So first off, employees. There are 3 FT bartenders. As a person who has bartended or managed bars off and on for decades, and we actually get hosed. Like, I have never made so little money working in the service industry, but we have a pension and benefits, and that's pretty choice. We consistently work our asses off while we watch our floor counting their hundreds of dollars at the end of a shift, while we only make what happens directly at our bar. The servers are mandated to tip out 2% of drink sales only. Regularly, they ignorantly throw dimes across the table at us and make comments about, "Oh, it was only 50 cents, but I rounded up to $1 because you earned it." Yes, comments like this happen on the regular. The rub is because of the CBA with the union bartenders are not allowed to serve tables, and the servers consistently remind us of this. Here is where it gets bad. They expect the bartenders to also run their food, clean and clear their tables, and still only tip to the literal penny. This is one aspect. Now, as for management, we have numerous times had conversations with management as our servers constantly abandon their tables, go outside to smoke, hang out on their phones, and generally do the barest of minimums. But because they are not on the floor, we have to be. We are mandated and guaranteed 15-minute breaks twice a shift and one 30-minute, which we never get. This is without mentioning once that management refuses to hire any new bartenders due to budgetary constraints. We've spoken to management numerous times, and all we get told is that the servers have the floor and that we can file a grievance with the union. Cue malicious compliance, and it's goo-wooed. So myself and the other two bartenders sat down with our union reps and hammered out the exact parameters of our jobs, management's duties and obligations, and that of our floor. We got everything highlighted, and we now have laminated card stock behind the bar with the printed and highlighted aspects of our jobs, our job parameters, and our job guarantees. A few weeks ago, we three started every shift the same way. Servers would regularly just walk behind the bar to get drinks for themselves or their clients. Sorry, you're not bartenders, you can't come behind the bar. What? You're sorry, it's in the CBA, we can't take tables, you can't serve or drinks, we'll get to it as soon as we can. Servers now have to wait on us to pour their drinks, pop, water, beer, or even get them ice. That's step one. We now officially take our 15s and our 30-minute breaks. As such, any and all drink service stops. Here is the best part, as such management, who is otherwise completely useless, chatting with friends or hiding in their offices, now have no choice but to come down and man the bar while we do so. They have to make drinks, stock the bar, which we ensure is needing to be done, and put away, polish our glassware. This is important as we have very specific criteria for our house drinks and what type of vessels they get poured in. This has been amusing to watch, but we enjoy our breaks, and I am catching up on some reading. It's only been a few weeks, but the servers seem to be getting it, and all of a sudden there are 2 new bartenders in training on the schedule, and 2 more apparently being hired. Maybe this malicious compliance stuff does work. TLDR. Serving staff treats the bar terribly. Management is lazy and ineffective. Bartenders got walked on and paid a pittance while working harder than anyone else. MC was to adhere strictly to the union guidelines. The servers kept throwing them in the face of the bartenders, forcing management and servers to actually work harder and stop floating. Edit update. So I need to fill in some gaps here from the comments section. Management runs on partial P and L bonus structures. For those that don't know, that is profit and loss. The less they spend while maintaining a baseline of profitability, the more money they make. This means we regularly run out of glassware, etc. Also why we are frequently short-staffed. Management is very questionable at this job. I have had in my past been bar manager at 3 different locations, 2 nightclubs and a speakeasy, and watching my bar run out of things like triple sec, garnish, and vodka. Yes, really, is beyond insane to me. The upper management has a very weird nepotism feel to it. Every manager below the GM is a former coworker or friend of the GM from other locations they've worked at, drinking buddies, and generally people with no actual experience in the field. The reviews of this place are atrocious. The only good ones seen recently are fake reviews written by the supervisors hired, the managers hired under fake names, or generally come from direct bar service. I do not mean to dump on the floor or servers because they do work hard, but the bar is the only staff ever on the floor from start to finish, and the first point of contact at the door because we regularly do not have a hostess. To add, our oldest bartender has been there 7 years and is around 60-ish years old. He holds or has held a supervisory position and was the first and last point of contact for a lot of clients and regulars. We have very similar mindsets, and frequently leave the bar to address issues and then try to correct them, above and beyond our scope of duties, which is why the bartenders there are seen so favorably. Again, the floor does work their butts off. I will never be an us versus them person. No serving position is easy, but this venue has a floor staff full of people that regularly walk off for smoke breaks, sit in the back on their phones, and who generally ignore their clients. Because of the nature of the business, the floor on slow nights will still make $150 regardless of good service, or not, so they are not the most motivated. Case in point is one table who just last night waited almost 20 minutes just to pay their bill because their server was outside smoking and on the phone. This is my first unionized position in the service industry, and in the province of BC, Canada, is governed by the BCGEU, or the BC General Employees Union. I have never been in a position like this, and while being the newest person took some time to rope in the other two long-term bartenders to actually do something about the working conditions. All of our new hires behind the bar will be notified of their rights and will not be fed to the wolves. It's not how we operate. If the job sucks, it is time to dip. Yes, this is a stop in my life that is currently necessary. I own a business but have a kid, and this job offers me a pension and quality employer-paid benefits. I have 2 years of school left, and while I'm in my early 40s, having the stability for myself and my kid while having their braces and my vision prescriptions covered is a nice little safety net.